B.Scott from Hiram Clark, 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 B.Scott from Hiram Clark. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. Do the Hiram Clark, do the Hiram Clark, do it. B.Scott from Hiram Clark, coming down looking smart. Candy paint on the car, push the button just to start. Riding clean, looking fly. H-Town till he die. Swinging down West Time and throw the deuces in the sky. Sam Houston represent, you other cats irrelevant. He be at the press conference, getting all the questions in. 6'10 represent, you know how he do it. B.Scott from Hiram Clark, do it. B.Scott from Hiram Clark.
All right, welcome into the B Block Podcast. I am Brandon Scott. Yo, what a game. What a game. What a game. I did not know for sure if I would come back on here. And I'm waiting on some people to come in and to hang out and to talk about the Texans actually having their wild card opponent. This is something that we were on the edge of our seats for, waiting on with bated breath. Who will the Texans face? They locked up that 5th seed earlier in the day by beating the Indianapolis Colts at home to end the regular season. Finish it out with 9 straight victories. Really cool. But who are they going to face? Who's the opponent? Show me my opponent. And it was going to come down to the Steelers and the Ravens Sunday Night Football for the AFC North and for the chance to host the Houston Texans. And what a preview of that matchup this actually was. I thought that this was a fascinating game because in the first half, it looked like two teams that either one of them you would take. Like neither team looked all that impressive. It was a 10-3 lead for the Ravens going into the halftime. And then the second half looked like two teams that you don't want to face. Two teams that are threatening. Two teams that would cause some problems for you on both, I think, sides of the ball. And more specifically, the way the offenses woke up in the second half, it was just, it was wild to me how this game, and I thought it actually, it perfectly described or illustrated the reasons why, and just to be clear for the record here, I wanted the Ravens. And I was fine with the Steelers. I'm fine with the Steelers. I'm still picking the Texans to win the game. But I thought that both the Ravens and the Steelers throughout various portions of this game perfectly illustrated why you would both or either want to play them or not want to play them. Both squads. I thought it's like, let's start with the team that lost, because we'll talk about the Steelers in just a second since that's the opponent. But with the Ravens, early in the game, the Derrick Henry factor hit home immediately. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, man, I'm out here talking all this shit about how I want the Ravens, but there go Derrick Henry looking like Derrick Henry. Perfect example of why you wouldn't want to play the Ravens. There was a play that Lamar Jackson had. Was it the touchdown throw? So he had 2 touchdown throws to Zay Flowers that were amazing. But I'm thinking about a different one where he splits 2 defenders, like they both come kind of converging on him. He splits them both, somehow slips out of their grasp. Alex Heisman was one of them, slips out of their grasp and tosses a touchdown throw. I'm pretty sure that was a touchdown pass. The 50-yarder. But anyway, the point being, that being an example of, I don't know if you want to face Lamar Jackson, because here it is. You could have presumably Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson converging on dude. He'll slip out of it and throw a touchdown. Perfect example. But then they also show why you would want to play them, because the defense, I'll give them credit. The defense was actually pretty good in the first half, but We saw the Swiss cheeseness of it. We saw it become Swiss cheese eventually throughout the game. It looked like they got to Aaron Rodgers twice, but they don't have a pass rush to speak of. This is a defense that I felt like the Texans could have rolled right through. Rolled right through. So they showed you both the reasons why you would or would not want to face them. Now the Steelers showed why you wouldn't want to face them for a couple of reasons. And that was that they do have dynamic pass rushers. They do have dynamic pass rushers. The reason why you would want to face them again was because of the offense that we watched in the first half that only scored 3 points. You feel like, man, if they're only scoring 3 points against this Ravens defense, which to their credit was playing better than they normally do, or playing decent, I should say, they wouldn't have a chance against the Texans defense if they played up to their potential. So you saw on full display the Steelers offense and how inept it can be. And then you saw on full display, I thought at least, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt gutting it out, Alex Heisman. So they have, and this was my whole thing about the Steelers preferring the Ravens over the Steelers, not wanting to face the Steelers. If I had to choose between the two, and that's what we were doing here. The Steelers have 3 pass rushers that are better than anyone that the Ravens have. The 3 pass rushers played for the Steelers tonight that are better than anything that the Ravens have to offer. Cam Hayward, Alex Heisman, and of course TJ Watt. All of those guys are guys that I feel like that could present issues for the Texans offensive line and for the Texans overall protection schemes versus anything that the Ravens could offer. And then we see how everybody wakes up in the second half. Okay, 3 points in the first half. They go off for 23 in the second half. And it really was just all it felt like. So, Calvin Austin makes that catch, and there were other guys that made plays, but it felt like this was an Aaron Rodgers special. You had that one play in the first half where he couldn't get to the first down, and one of the defensive linemen was able to chase him down. One of the Ravens defensive linemen was able to chase him down, and Chris Collinsworth is sitting there talking about, like, man, I don't know. This is rough. Like, back in the day, Aaron Rodgers would have gotten that first down with ease. He pulls back, tries to juke. It just wasn't happening. But the brain is still there. The arm is still there. And he just needed a few guys to make some plays for him, and they did that. Kenneth Gainwell was fantastic in this game. Calvin Austin with the touchdown, the game-winning touchdown. Thought it was interesting that Kenneth Gainwell, and we noticed, like, he factors into the run game, but he was also their most targeted guy. Aaron Rodgers is like the de facto offensive coordinator, and that's probably better than what they got going with Arthur Smith. I thought it was funny that so to end the first half, they had that play where they try to go misdirection with Kenneth Gainwell and it doesn't work. And it was just such an odd play. It's like, okay, I know Aaron Rodgers didn't call this. This must have been an Arthur Smith play because the math on it was wrong. They had everybody leveraged to one side, but they didn't account for the 2 defenders on the other side, and there was a guy unblocked. There was basically one guy that Kenneth Gainwell had to beat, and he couldn't do it. It was a weird play call. And it was at that moment where I thought, man, they don't have it. They don't have it. It's going to be the Ravens. It's going to be the team that all of the Texans fans don't want to face. But Aaron Rodgers is cooked. Arthur Smith is cooked. They're best. They out there with Adam Thielen and Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, Pat Fryermuth. Pat Fryermuth being probably their best receiving option and threat at that point. It ends up being Kenneth Gainwell that gets the most targets. Like that's not a viable passing game. Aaron Rodgers figured it out. So yeah. So now that it is the Steelers, okay, and again I wanted it to be the Ravens. I am looking out for how does the Texans offense account for Cam Hayward? How do they account for TJ Watt? How do they account for Alex Highsmith? How do they account for Derek Harmon, who's like a name that most casual fans probably don't know, but I would even throw him in there as somebody that's probably better at his job than anybody up front for the Baltimore Ravens. Brandon says that the Steelers have a better O line and D line. Steelers secondary and receivers are terrible. Correct. This is spot on, Brandon. Spot on. But the thing is, man, I don't mean to be a cliche guy, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it, especially like a game like this, playoff game, gonna be played in the cold, two really tough teams. Game can be won in the trenches. You can literally win the game in the trenches. You can. And so the Steelers having a good O line and D line, or a good O line and front, let's call it, is a little bit concerning. I think the Texans can handle it, but that's why they concern me a little bit more than the Ravens, because I don't think the Ravens have a very good O line or D line. They have a good O lineman or two, a couple of good O linemen, but their D line is nondescript. I thought that the Texans could win the game in the trenches more so against the Ravens than the Steelers. Good point here from Brandon as well, that the receivers and secondary from the Ravens make random quality plays. They do. They do, and they did in this game. It's a shame. It's a shame how it ended, man. Tyler Loop, yo, man, and I got up. Something in me. Y'all gonna ask my girl. We watching this at the end, and I got up. I was sitting down watching the game, and I stood up and I said, "Man, I think he might miss this." It was just a hunch. No expert opinion, no insight, no nothing. Just a hunch. It's like, man, I think he might miss this. To win or lose the game. And how about that too, for the ending, to have the Steelers to score that touchdown, but to miss the extra point, leaving themselves vulnerable to not a game tying field goal, but a game winning field goal by the opposition. And then they actually go down there and get it done. They get a nice kickoff return, and they get in the field goal range, have a nice, what you would call, not 2 minute, but a hurry up fire drill type of drive to get them in the field goal range. 2 seconds left, manageable distance. I know it's cold out there. It's uncomfortable out there. Manageable distance. And you get another missed kick. The game swings in two different directions off of a missed extra point and then a missed kick. It's kind of wild. Rod Payne says that he's a Rockets fan and Steelers fan from Pittsburgh, in a weird space. Pittsburgh had Steven Adams. Pittsburgh had Steven Adams first. Pittsburgh University knew he was special. He only played a year with us. I don't think I had that. I don't think I had that piece of history. Rod, I appreciate that. I did not have that Houston Pittsburgh connection on the ready, but that's what the chat is for. That's why y'all are a part of the show as well. Somehow it does not surprise me that Steven Adams, albeit from New Zealand, would have American roots in Pittsburgh, in places like Pittsburgh, Oklahoma City, Memphis, Houston. Those seem like Steven Adams type of American cities. Also mentions from Rod that the Texans started off rough, ended stronger than starting. Um, it's really cool to think about this opportunity that the Texans have because I think they match up well against the Steelers, and it helps. Here's what helps me going into this game. The game that I'm going to go back to, or the moment I'm going to go back to and think about as we go into this game. And by the way, Monday night, a week from tomorrow, Monday night, 7 o'clock, ESPN, Monday Night Football, Texans Steelers for a chance to go to the divisional round. The thing that I will be thinking about from this Texans run, from this 9-game winning streak, from this 12-win season that the Texans have had, thing I'll be thinking about are really specifically, I'll say, is that Chiefs game from a few weeks back. They go up to Kansas City, win 20-10. I honestly think that this Steelers team, I don't think that they're even better than the Chiefs team that's not in the playoffs. I don't. I think that the Chiefs were in a better division, and the Steelers. I keep saying the Ravens because I was thinking they were going to win. The Chiefs were in a better division, and the Steelers were in a worse division. But I think, like, if you'd ask me right now, who'd you rather, the Steelers or the Chiefs? I'd say the Steelers. Maybe that's the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid factor, Chris Jones factor. But the point being here that the Texans went to Kansas City and took care of business against the Chiefs, and a gotta have a game for the Chiefs. A gotta have a game for the Chiefs. Effectively ended their season, like kind of close to shattered their hopes of any kind of playoff run. They did that against the Chiefs. Okay, I think they can go on the road and do it against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That will be the game. That will be the inflection point. Or the reference point for me. Y'all did this against them. Y'all should be able to do that against them. Front runner mentions that the offense is going to have to score TDs to win in the playoffs. Man, you were on the last live talking about the offense or mentioning the offense. I cannot argue. Man, I can't argue with this. Like, here's the thing that's weird about the whole thing. We all agree that the offense is not good enough. The settling for field goals, the 3-and-outs, the poor performances in the red zone, the inability to get to the red zone, all of this stuff is problematic for the Texans. Problematic for the Texans offense. And yet and still, oddly enough, they have found some kind of formula where they do just enough on offense. Just enough on offense. And allow that defense to really thrive and really kind of help them win the game, really just honestly win them the game. But it's like, let's control the ball. Let's not turn it over. These are the things that we're going to be elite at, right? I've talked about this for weeks now. What are the offensive numbers that the Texans are elite at? It ain't too many. You're not going to find too many. Most of it is either anywhere from mediocre to not good, subpar. But the things that they do well, time of possession and not turning the ball over. That's been the formula. But I tend to agree with you, front runner, on the point of you're going to have to score touchdowns. Like, it's great that they don't beat themselves. It's great that they want to possess the ball and play keep away and play mind control. Like, ball control, mind control. That's great. But also, too many of these drives are ending in field goals. I say this all the time. You want a really good kicker. You want a great kicker. You need one. We saw this game right here is a perfect example of, and this is not. I hate to pile on Luke, but it's just a perfect example of the importance of the kicker. Is the point I'm making there? But you don't want to be a team that's so overly reliant on both your kicker and your punter. Like I feel like for as good of a team as the Texans clearly are, they won 12 games, 9-game winning streak. The punter and the kicker are just way too relevant in the whole game plan. They should be good, but not as relied upon as they are. And maybe that's an aesthetic thing. Maybe that's an entertainment thing. Maybe that's just us creating conversation and going back and forth. But it does feel that way. Going back to front runner's point, like the offense is gonna have to score touchdowns. Yeah, sure. Throughout the game, you'll need the field goals. You'll need your punter to help you with field position. But you're gonna have to go out there and make them plays that Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers made. Maybe it don't look like that, but you're gonna have to do stuff like that. You're gonna have to go out there and do stuff like what you did to start the game against the Chargers, and far less of that stuff that you did to end it. That's what it need to look like. So yeah, man, it's the Steelers. Y'all got what y'all wanted. Y'all wanted the Steelers. Y'all got them. I'm happy for y'all. I wanted the Ravens. Y'all didn't get them. I'm happy for y'all in that regard as well. Because I can't lie, man. Watching glimpses of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson did kind of just sober me a little bit and remind me a little bit of not just who they are, but how much that stuff plays in the playoffs. And I know ain't neither one of them ever won nothing. I get it, but they've been beating the Texans. They've had their way with the Texans in the playoffs, and for the most part in the regular season is definitely when Lamar has played. Like I get it. I was watching that game thinking, man, I've been talking all of this shit, but the Ravens, man, defense is ass, but Lamar is still Lamar. Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry, still held a tackle. So again, thought that their defense it was easier to be had. The Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith trio of pass rushers and slash just overall defensive badasses is something that will be a challenge for this Texans offense that still has not, you know, look, the Texans scored 38 points in this season finale, but I still don't feel like they finished the season with like everybody feeling like the offense is just potent. You know what I mean? We wouldn't call it a potent offense. So we'll see. I mentioned this earlier in the last live that Xavier Hutchinson being able to be like a number one target in a game like that was encouraging. You don't want them to lean too much into that, but just to know you've seen Xavier Hutchinson perform in the playoffs before, and then your most recent example of him in the regular season was of him being like their number one target. So we'll see. But, you know, in the last live, we were talking about somebody mentioned the tackle situation. It's, you know, it's a little murky. You got one tackle with a broke hand who's a rookie. His backup is somebody who, you know, played well 2 weeks ago or 2 games ago now against the Chargers, but has been mostly getting run as an extra blocker, as an eligible, tight end effectively. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. This will be the question. This will be the question, the thing to study, the thing to talk about over the next 8 days, we can call it. The week countdown, starting with Reaction Monday on Sports Radio 610. I'll be here on the B block as well. I'm gonna talk to Chancellor Johnson this week. Be real interested to get his thoughts on how the Texans ended their season and this matchup against the Steelers is coming up next week. Chandler's doing Big 12 work now, so we'll also talk a little bit of college, both football and hell, maybe even a little basketball too. I watched Houston beat Cincinnati. I don't know how many of y'all. This is we're doing a show here on football. I don't know how many of y'all watch college basketball, but U of H played a really good game against Cincinnati for the Big 12 opener. And look, I think like this Kingston Flemings kid, this freshman, and really the guards that they got at U of H, they are worth just hearing out Chancellor. What does Chance think about this U of H potential run, and if this is just as good of a chance as they've had as any to make a run? And I think it is. So, so we'll do that a little bit later on in the week, but we'll also talk about this game here or this matchup coming up here, because it should be a good one. I really think so. Like I'm actually for I was having this conversation with Ron the Show Hughley, where he's like, he doesn't think there are any great teams. Excuse me, he doesn't think there are any great teams, and he actually hopes that whatever we saw this year, whatever this year was about, that it's not a trend, that we get back to seeing great teams, whether that's one of the great teams that we already know about, or somehow one of these teams that we don't really know to be great yet emerges as a great team. But Ron's not a big fan of this is us just having a conversation. Not a big fan of just like anybody could win it, and there's just no clear cut great team. But and I would agree that there are no great teams, but I think all of the teams in the playoffs, except for I think all of the teams in the playoffs are good, except for probably the Panthers in the NFC. These are the teams I could at least do without. The Panthers in the NFC and the Steelers in the AFC, which are the teams that had to they kind of just won their division by default, right? The Panthers needed the Falcons to beat the Saints, I think, right? Because the Panthers lost to the Bucks the other night, so they needed help just to win the division they're in. And then, as we just talked about, the Steelers needed Tyler Loop to miss a manageable field goal for them to win. And so they won the weakest divisions in their respective conferences. And they literally needed help to do it. So those are the teams that I could do without. But other than those, I feel like everybody else is pretty good, or at least worthwhile. I agree. None of them would I classify as great. But I'm intrigued. I'm interested to watch all of these teams, all of these games. Again, probably except Rams Panthers. And if I'm being honest, I'm only interested in Texans Steelers because of the obvious Texans ties. But if I was from Jackson or from Buffalo or LA or Boston, I wouldn't give a damn about that game. The Texans are a cool story, but I'd probably look at that game as one that does not include a potential Super Bowl champion if I wasn't as close to it as I am. I think the Texans got a real shot, but I also don't think that people outside of Houston and people that don't really follow the Texans hardcore like that probably don't really know that or think that. And then the question about the offense, the point about the offense is fair too. Like how can I really say that if we don't necessarily know if we can trust them to score 30 points when they need to, or to really open things up offensively when they need to. So, yeah, I'm down. How y'all feeling about the playoffs, man? I'm gonna get out of here. It's close to midnight. Got a reaction Monday coming up. I really think that this is a good matchup. This is a good match. I wanted the Ravens, but I do think that this is a matchup for the Texans. Y'all let me know. How y'all feeling? All right. I want to know. Reaction Monday again. Reaction Monday on Sports Radio 610. Check them out. B.Block Podcast. I will be back. Not sure how many more lives I'm going to do this week, but we'll do videos. Got a lot coming up, so I'm excited about the new year. I don't know if I did that in any of these lives that I've done over the last, or like today, but happy new year to y'all. I hope y'all's new year was pleasant and all of that, but more to the point, the B-Block is going to turn things up. I know y'all saw that we really picked it up toward the end of the year, 2025. We're going to pick up right where we left off in 2026 and really try to make this a big year for the podcast, right? This has always been kind of like, the way it worked was like, it was like my little audio journal or a place where I just went to get my shit off or whatever, but not nothing I was really trying to develop into a brand or a following or, none of that. But we're going to turn it up this year. So I hope y'all turn it up with me. If y'all are willing. Let's do it, man. Subscribe, comment, tell people about the podcast, rate, review it on the audio side. Do all of that. Helps grow the podcast and it's much appreciated, man. Until next time, y'all be good.